Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to The Street Live. I'm Jeff Marks, Senior Portfolio Analyst at Action Alerts Plus, standing live on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange with Jim Cramer. Jim, before we get into the markets today, you just had an interview with Intel CEO Pat Gelsinger, introduced some new architecture, there was some M&A talk as well. What was the interview like with Pat, and what do you think about Intel right here?
AMD is on fire. There isn't a client that they're not knocking the door of Intel. And they have got a lot of clients. Intel still got more scale. Intel is a great company, but Patrick was left with a company that was well behind the Intel of old. And what he's doing is furiously trying to catch up. Unfortunately, you just can't do it as fast as he makes it out to. Advanced Micro was at 108 when I guess this architecture call ran out and people started hearing about it. It's AMD's at 103. My takeaway of the Intel conversation is go buy AMD.
Yeah, and I know that he was talking about M&A as well. Is that really a strong likelihood, given how tough regulation is these days? I spent a lot of time with the people from a particular foundry that have been rumored to be bought by Intel, and that foundry, I think, is probably more likely to come public than it is to be bought, and that's the preparation. I find that Patrick is a man who is a great spokesperson for the Intel, for the industry, semiconductors, and Intel is a firm that was badly needed fixing. Would I do the same thing as Patrick? I would say I would speak softly and carry a big stick, because what's happened here is that this is a company where it's more of a Denny Green. They are who we said they are. They are behind. They are way behind. He's got an architecture called the Ponte Vecchio. Well, that's the bridge in Florence. They have not yet, at least Sue's not yet picked Florence is on the roadmap. I've been arguing she should. She's done Milan, she's done Genoa, she's done Rome, Naples. My problem with what he's talking about is he doesn't have the horses. He doesn't have the horses to do what he says. And there's no denying that. And I think that he has not admitted that they fell back and stuck to the 10 nano and other people have moved ahead. I think we all want them to win. We need a strong semiconductor industry in this country and we need foundries built. But he also has to recognize that while Intel was idle, AMD wasn't. And I think a lot of people, including me, felt when AMD was at 5 that AMD may not make it. But instead it was Lisa Su, and she made it, and she's ahead. And I think that she doesn't talk about being ahead. She has people like me who do, but with this architecture, they're not catching. She's not doing Wall Street Journal articles talking about their business.
No, she's just nose to the grindstone. That last quarter was magnificent. And remember, it took the stock from 92 to 118, and yet the meme has come in at 118. That was bad, but I want to point out that, as I said in the interview, you admitted that Patrick, your quarter disappointed. Lisa's was fabulous. I reiterate that AMD at 103 has been kept down 5 points by this Intel announcement, and the Intel announcement is ghostware to some degree.
All right, Jim, I want to move on to CISCO real quick because you did have CEO Chuck Robbins on. This is an Action Alerts Plus name. We're going to talk a lot more about this on our video right after this. But I do want to get your thoughts because, again, you had the interview with him. You talked to more CEOs than probably anyone else in the world on a daily basis. So what do you think of the CISCO quarter?
All right, so CISCO is an order-based company. And if you take a look, when people sold it down from 53 to 51 reported last, he had the beginning of an order turn, and it was a mistake. Then the stock very rapidly went to a new high. Once again, the same thing. The stock goes down. People don't realize the level of orders that he's getting is stunning. I mean, you've got a service provider. How many times have I picked on him with service provider? You've got government, you've got enterprise. Everything is on fire, and it's also global too. All the numbers are double digit. This is really Cisco's time. Now, by the way, Cisco has $30 billion in run pass option. That was a joke that I made. It's really RPO. And that's a way to be able to say what's the revenues that performance obligation that he basically has in the bank. And so his in the bank numbers, his sustainable numbers, his recurring revenue numbers are unlike I've ever seen. I would say up to 50% of Cisco's business is now predictable, which is why he gave a yearly guidance, and that was the key. If you're a student of Cisco calls, you know that they never give yearly guidance, ever. Why? Because they always say it's an uncertain time. Well, he no longer says it's an uncertain time. I think that Cisco is going to have a remarkable next 6 months, regardless of semi-chips. They are very good supply chain guys. And people should take a look at that quarter and realize that we're dealing with a company that deserves a sharply higher multiple now that they're giving a year of guidance and they're doing so much that is service and so much that is software.
Yeah, we know Wall Street loves predictability, and when you do have that annual forecast that does, you would think for a company that didn't do it in the past, you'd get a higher multiple. Now, Jim,
I mean, I got to tell you, this is not a hardware company anymore. It's a hardware company that has a tremendous amount of software, which is going to cross over. This time next year, it's going to be a software company, and I hope it is then followed by people who understand software, not these people who understand hardware, who don't even get what it means to have a service provider revolution, finally get those orders after so many years of us being just disappointed by Cisco.
Yeah, 16 billion run rate software, the business. That's pretty big. Now, Jim, real quick, check on the markets. We did open lower. That would have been, day 3 of the sell-off, but we are seeing markets kind of climb their way back to about a flat territory.
Seem to be up right now. I mean, then what happens is everybody who bought it yesterday at the close is going to flip it. We want gradual. We don't want sudden. Sudden brings out sellers. Gradual brings out buyers. As people say, you know what? Maybe there's some opportunities here. I'll give you an example. MasterCard. Down 3. I would take more MasterCard if we hadn't done it already. Apple, there's a very good note today about raising numbers. It was for JP Morgan.
Yep.
It was a fantastic note. The stock's at 146. It was 145 earlier. Why shouldn't that stock go back to 150? I see a lot, but the one I want to focus on again, Advanced Micro, down hideously off of this initiative by Pat Gelsinger that will not even come near touching the leadership that they have.
All right, Jim, let's talk about Robinhood next. First quarter since the IPO, revenues more than doubled off the strength of crypto demand, though they did warn that September might be a seasonally weaker period for them. What do you think about the Robinhood quarter here?
As someone who was in charge at one point at looking about what seasons were strong and weak at Goldman, it's a seasonally strong period. Now, maybe they think it's seasonally weak because so many of their people are students.
Back to school, it's the clientele.
They have to, but I can tell you got mobile phones in those classrooms, you can do what you want. But I guess maybe they have a bit different seasonal, but the fact is that you're supposed to be at the beach in the summer and then back wham and jam and trading in September. I didn't like to see that. I don't want to see seasonal when I'm dealing with brand new companies. That's something I save for when I'm dealing with old hat companies.
All right, Jim, we got to talk Facebook. They announced this Horizon virtual reality workplace setting yesterday, and it's pretty cool. It's a place where you can, in a virtual setting, collaborate with people, and which is great because we've all been working from home for so long, and I know that everyone really misses that collaboration, working together and bouncing off ideas. And we know that you're pretty big into the metaverse right now, whether it's through Facebook, Unity software as well. So what do you think about this Facebook news and this next evolution of the internet?
It's a primitive version of what Jensen Huang from Nvidia, where almost everything is based in the metaverse on, sees. I mean, Jensen is talking about having your exact double. Those people look like cartoon characters to me. Exact double at an airport, exact double on a factory floor, exact double at a stadium, watching a football game that you want the Eagles to win. And maybe he talks about the idea that it's bigger. The whole metaverse is bigger than the current universe. And I want people to go to the last chunk of speech or writing. He's very low key if you listen to the call that talks about metaverse, omniverse, and you'll understand why Zuckerberg is primitive, and Jensen is the Da Vinci. He is making you in the room. See, I think people don't understand. He says you go through a wormhole, and there you are with all of your idols, or there you are with the people that you want to be with, from history, and
the NFTs that you bought,
NFTs that you bought, and
it's all coming together.
Right. Yeah. So my takeaway is that you can either try to get in that metaverse or just go buy Nvidia. I'd rather own Nvidia and then one day get in the metaverse.
All right, just real quick on Nvidia, better than expected quarter reported last night. Gaming strong, data center reacceleration in revenues. I guess the only thing to really point out is maybe crypto was weak, but that's not really what we want anyway.
No, right. Remember, they're only taking cards graphic user GPUs that aren't fit and good enough to be able to use for other reasons, and then they're throwing them into that pile. They were normally scrap. They're selling scrap and making money, but it's not going to be a big issue. And I was glad to hear it wasn't big, because I read there was some downgrade today by some outfit I'd never heard of that said, well, we're taking it to a sell because of crypto. And it's like, well, did you go to college to get stupid? The thing that I liked best, and I got this also from when I speak to the fantastic Colette Kress, who is the CFO, who is as brilliant as Jensen, gaming. I called into question the idea of the gaming cycle. And what I am so obviously out of touch with is it's not a cycle. It's a secular growth business that may be the greatest of all time, and that I better get on the horse. They're talking about gaming, they're not thinking about gaming the way we do. They're thinking about gaming as something that 7 billion people want to do, and that's they want to get vaccinated, they want to game. I mean, it's really except for the people in the South.
Yeah, I don't have the number in front of me. I think they said they still have about 80% of those gamers that still need to upgrade to their latest and greatest chips. That's a pretty big number of a lot of revenue still to come.
I mean, you can't divide it by 9 because 9's an odd number, but you do. A lot of people like to say third inning. It's obviously not even the third inning, and I like that. And of course, the more and more games that are created, the more you want to own this thing. It was a remarkable quarter in a series of remarkable quarters, and people, if they listen, will recognize why you pay such a high multiple for such a great company.
All right, so before we move on to our Action Alerts Plus video right after this, where we're going to also talk about that Estee Lauder quarter in addition to CISCO and Nvidia that we just went over. What are you looking for towards next week? I know we have our Action Alerts Plus call next Wednesday. We have some big earnings reports coming up. Salesforce comes to mind. I believe they're coming up soon.
A lot of people say Salesforce is going to have some very big orders, and I like to hear that. I want this sell-off to run its course, but not quickly. And I think a lot of this sell-off is based, if you take a lot of it's Europe. So as Europe closes, we tend to catch a bid, but we're down precipitously in the last 20 minutes of yesterday. I don't know what that was about, but it didn't seem like it was anything related to the fundamentals. Nothing happened overnight that really mattered. We're listening right now to Jeff Gannett. When Jeff Gannett's stock at Macy's is up 10%, what that tells me is the consumer is doing quite well. So let's just accept the fact that despite the Delta variant, the consumer's not dead. And that's in part because the variant is not killing a lot of people.
Yeah, it sounds like although July might have been a little soft, everyone's having a very strong August right now off of back to school. We heard that from Target, Walmart.
Yeah, people did. Target was up 44% going in, so you didn't understand that that stock could sell off. Macy's bought back $1.3 billion in debt, something I've been urging them to do by $500 million buyback and a dividend. Well, this is a restoration of the Macy's pre-COVID, and I'm really glad to see it. That's another important business that we want as a country to be doing better. And also, Jeff is one of the good guys who really wanted to do well.
Yep, and we talked a little bit earlier that we do have that Action Alerts Plus monthly call next Wednesday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. We talked a little bit about yesterday about what to expect on the upcoming call. Any other new thoughts? You always give your worldview.
Yeah,
we do a Q&A. We talk about new initiations.
Well, after talking with Chuck Robbins this morning, I realized that what we have to do is we have to find companies that aren't what they were. CISCO going to a software company is very, very important. When we look at Costco, why did it go from 200 to 400? Because they had no online. They were really second rate when it came to the omni-channel. Macy's is having right now the move that Costco has had, and I want companies that are different. The companies that we thought were the same, and they're different. And the companies, by the way, that stay the same have been some of our worst performers. I mean, I think that we're going to talk about Estee Lauder in a second, but like Bristol Myers, they've just stayed the same, and that's one of the reasons why the stock has had hard to get out of its way. I want companies to reinvent. Intel's trying to reinvent. AMD reinvented big time. So I'm looking for reinvention, and it's really important. And you're not going to find reinvention at an oil company unless, because they can say that they're greenwashers. But you can find reinvention when you look at Nucor, which is a company that reinvented itself as being a company that does oil pipe and does auto. You have to reinvent in order to stay in this portfolio. And if the company is steady and doing the same thing over and over again, it can't be in the fund.
Yeah, we're going to leave it right there and go to our Action Alerts Plus video right after this. That's the show for today and for the week. I'm Jeff Marks. We'll see you back Monday.